I want to thank you all for being here today. My name is Javier Becerra. I am privileged to be the Attorney General for the great state of California. I am joined today by Professor Robert Muth. I want to make sure I say it right. At the University of California Davis School of Law. We're joined by Lieutenant Williamson Dockery. We're also joined by folks on the DOJ team, Nick Akers, who heads our Consumer Protection section, Angela Rosenau, who is the Principal Deputy responsible for the prosecutions I'm about to tell you about, and Ellie Bloom, who is our Special Assistant in the Department of Justice handling many of these consumer rights issues. And we are pleased that all of these folks are here today, and Professor Muth will be speaking shortly after I do. Simply want to start by saying to the more than 42,000 active members in our military who reside in and around San Diego, and the countless more who are veterans who did serve, thank you again for your service. What we owe you is a great deal of gratitude, but what you don't deserve is to be ripped off after giving service to this country. But that's unfortunately what happens too often when you are in the service, when you have the GI Bill that helps you cover some of your expenses and helps your military families also cope with the expense of living a life while your loved one is in service. And we should be doing everything we can to make that life here in America as smooth as possible, given that our men and women in uniform have to focus on some other priorities. We're here today because we're announcing a prosecution that will commence soon against some individuals who took advantage of our service members and our veterans in California. Ramil Abakad, his wife Melina, both participated in activity that defrauded many of our service members and veterans. They are the owners of Romano's Jewelry. They also owned an affiliated company called MBNB Financial. And what they did was essentially lure in service members, veterans, to purchase jewelry, and then found that they could take advantage of interest rates, debt collection services, to place a lot of these men and women in a very difficult predicament. And it's unfortunate that the cost of what should be a beautiful gift to someone in your family when you go to a jewelry store became a nightmare for so many of these service members. The Abakads are charged with conspiracy to engage in illegal financing and debt collection, targeting these young Marines and sailors. Mr. Abakad is also charged with check kiting involving the company's business bank accounts. I should mention there's one other employee, Ramiro Salinas, an employee of MBNB, who is also charged with conspiracy to engage in unlawful debt collection. The men and women in uniform who fell victim by falling behind in those payments on those purchases of jewelry were allegedly harassed by the defendant's debt collectors, sometimes posing as attorney, threatening court-martial and other military disciplinary actions against these men and women in uniform. I do want to, at this stage, admonish that these charges that we have filed are, at this point, only allegations. A defendant always in this country is presumed innocent unless and until proven guilty. But that's what we intend to do in this particular prosecution, is prove them guilty. In this prosecution and investigation, we are fortunate. The investigation was aided by the assistance from the Navy and Marine Corps legal assistance attorneys and from the San Diego District Attorney's Office. I want to thank DA Sumner Stephan for her help and the help of her staff. It is important, and this is a critical point here. It is important for our service members or veterans who believe they may have been taken advantage of or targeted by Romano's Jewelry to please come forward, let us know, so that we can prevent this from happening to others, but so that we can also successfully prosecute those who would take advantage and exploit you. If you wish to reach out to me and my office, you can contact us by calling a 1-800 number, a toll-free number. That would be 800-952-5225. And if you are out of state, you can still contact us at 916-322-3360. It is important that we do everything we can to protect and support our men and women in uniform, and that's what we intend to do. And I will simply close by remembering that there were many individuals in Las Vegas who donned the uniform, who were casualties in the tragic mass shooting that we saw in Vegas just a couple of 2 or 3 days ago. And I want to express our heartfelt thoughts and prayers to the victims and the families of those in Las Vegas who today are hoping to be able to recover, and certainly to those who came to the rescue, the first responders, the firefighters, the law enforcement personnel. We want to say thank you for their courageous actions in preventing further carnage there in Las Vegas. And with that, let me now turn to Professor Muth for his comments and to tell us about his work in helping our service members avoid being ripped off. Professor.
Thank you, sir. My name is Bob Muth. I'm a professor at the University of San Diego School of Law, and I serve as the managing attorney of USD's Veterans Legal Clinic, where we provide free legal assistance to veterans, active duty personnel, reservists, and National Guardsmen and their families on a variety of issues. However, our core focus often is consumer protection. I'd like to thank and commend the Attorney General and his staff for their continued focus on protecting the rights of our veterans, service members, and their families, both here in San Diego County and also more broadly throughout the state of California. Now, certainly anyone can fall victim to a consumer scam. However, veterans and service members are often particularly targeted. This is because they have a steady paycheck and are often young men and women, often 18 or 19 years old, away from home for the first time, and going to have little experience making complex or significant consumer transactions. Often the scam that trips them up is the first real big purchase that they've ever made. Our military families are also targeted because they move around a lot, both relocating throughout California and also more broadly throughout the United States. And they simply don't have the local experience to know which businesses are reputable and those that might engage in sharp, unfair, or illegal business practices. And certainly the consequences for someone who falls victim to a consumer scam are significant. However, they're often more severe for our military personnel. The number one reason why a service member might lose their security clearance is due to financial instability. And often when you drill down to the root cause of why they're having financial troubles, it's the result of an unfair or illegal consumer transaction that ultimately impacts their ability to meet their financial obligations, and also that ruins their credit rating and ultimately takes their clearance. In the military, if you can't do your job because you don't have a clearance, it's going to lead to an abrupt end to your military career. Certainly that has significant impacts on that individual service member, but it also harms their families that are often depending upon them for financial security and stability. But it also hurts California taxpayers and citizens more broadly. It costs tens of thousands of dollars to identify, train, and develop the skill set for an individual to serve in today's military. If they're unable to do their job because they've lost their security clearance, that results in tremendous waste for both time, talent, and taxpayer dollars. So certainly these consumer protection issues are important for troop morale, also for troop readiness, and then finally, in a deployed environment, they are particularly serious. Having served as a Marine officer and having the opportunity to lead Marines and sailors both here in the United States and also while deployed to Iraq, I understand how important and critical these issues are. Every service member in the unit must be 100% committed to mission accomplishment. And if they're distracted by financial turmoil at home, particularly as it might impact their family members while they are abroad, it can lead to distractions. That is going to lead to dangerous circumstances, both for that individual service member, but also for their buddy on their left or right, who's depending upon them to be totally focused on the mission at hand. So these are really critical issues, and they have ramifications far beyond the individual service member who might be harmed here in San Diego County or throughout the state of California. So I thank the Attorney General and his staff for their continued leadership on these issues. In order to prevent falling prey to one of these scams, there's a number of steps that a service member can take. When people are getting ready to deploy, we talk about being a hard target. And what that means in this context is making sure, one, they've done their homework ahead of time, two, that they ask questions, three, that they ask for any of the terms to be in writing, and that they actually read those terms. And if they don't understand something, they should take a tactical pause and bring that paperwork back to someone they trust on base, whether that be someone within their chain of command or someone at the base legal assistance office. It's a lot easier to walk around a hole than it is to climb your way out of it after trouble has hit. So if someone has found themselves in that type of a situation, I would encourage them to reach out to their chain of command and ask to set up an appointment with the base legal assistance office. The attorneys at the base legal assistance office will be able to assess the situation, provide them with next steps they should take, and then also make a proper referral to the State Attorney General's office, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the FTC, or whatever might be the agency that has appropriate jurisdiction over those issues. And that's really important so that not only is that service member helped, but also they can prevent their buddies from being also victimized by the same scam. Thank you very much for your time.
Now you get why you guys are so important. We can't get the word out to these service members without the media helping us get the information out. Because you may not, as a service member, think that anything went wrong. But you may find that you were taken advantage of, even though you did everything you were supposed to. And so that's why it's so important for some of these service members to step forward. If there's nothing else,